Hi everyone, I'm officially put myself down as a bit fed up with pre-season, I think, because I'm not a huge fan of watching Celtic play brilliant football for 45 minutes and then play the second half like they've never played together. I guess it's just the way things are, John. It was a kind of funny whole experience this evening with the whole Artur Boruc stuff going on. Obviously, a bit of a kind of, I'd say a pretty competitive match in general, but there was always a bit of a weird feeling to it.
You
And yeah,
sound
mate.
surprised, Hamish. This is pre-season every single
Well,
year, mate.
I knew. Well, I know that, but tonight particularly, I knew it was going to be an Artur Boruc themed thing, but I hadn't quite comprehended that he was going to have all this stuff before the game coming out. I think after the game, talking with a mic. I just want the competitive football now because I hate like watching games and seeing things happening and just not being able to read too much into them. What was your thoughts overall on what you saw tonight?
Yeah, one of those ones where it's the first half and the manager plays the stronger team, and they start the game more cohesively, and then as soon as the changes start getting made, it goes away from us. A couple of defensive lapses again, which obviously you never want to see. But has been well trod the ground by now. It's the kind of thing you would rather see in pre-season than competitive. So as long as the team know they need to sharpen up on that end of things, I thought there was plenty of positives to take from the first half performance, which you would consider perhaps the better dress rehearsal in terms of the strength of team that will be playing in these opening games at the end of the month and in August. Thought Rio Hotati looked superb in that first half, really sparkling at the moment, and is looking like he might hit the ground running. But yeah, again, I'm not going to lie and say I enjoyed the second half because you would be foolish to. I didn't think Celtic looked very cohesive with their passing at all, really, and as I say, just looked like they were getting cut open far too easily. So I mean, there's always this is as I say, I'm not surprised in the slightest because this is pre-season every year. You always see a pretty decent game up until the substitutions, and then it falls apart a little bit. It would be nicer to see the substitutes come on and play together a bit more seamlessly, but that just isn't the case. And don't think it was probably ever going to be, but we'll just need to see how it translates into the new season and with our full strength 11 on the field, for longer than 45 minutes.
I guess it's slightly different this year in that we don't have the qualifiers. So I think in previous years when we have had the qualifiers, it's felt slightly different in that you're maybe warming up for a game on the Wednesday when you've got, 6 pre-season games in a row that have all kind of, apart from the first one, had a pretty similar pattern in terms of Celtic starting pretty well. And then as the game goes on, maybe not quite playing the same sort of football. But I think first half, really impressive in general. I actually thought maybe first 5 minutes we were a little bit slow, but from that point, when we kind of got that control that Ange craves, we were excellent. Legia Warsaw, who aren't a great side, but a decent enough side. I think they struggled at times to get out at all. We were pressing them well. Maida was really leading well from the front. Just love watching that guy. And I thought the midfield was great. I thought it was really good. I mean, those three are going to be probably our first choice midfielders. I would say going into the early part of the season. Who knows if Turnbull, Moy, anyone else can break into that. But I think, there's a nice balance to that midfield. I don't think it's any coincidence that the team drops its level when the likes of O'Reilly, Hatate and slightly later on McGregor go off, because those three in the first half just worked a dream.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if the starting midfield for that Aberdeen game, which is just a week on Sunday now, isn't McGregor, O'Reilly and Hatate. I do think they look the strongest together, but also the strongest in the combinations with their teammates. I actually thought today's starting 11 might be quite close to what we see. I think we'd probably bring in Kyogo instead of Maida.
Yeah.
Probably bring in Jota instead of Forrest. But maybe even not. I think Ralston's been pretty decent in pre-season, whereas, I feel like Juranovic hasn't quite been there, but, he's still getting up to match fitness as well. So I think the manager has options, but in terms of that, I think we know now in terms of that midfield position and the goalkeeper position, that's 4 of the 11 starting positions for the new season sorted, and then it's kind of however you want to move about the team, in other positions. But I have to say, I thought the first half was good, and so I'm happy to move forward in that spirit, and maybe hope that we play some of our starters longer on Saturday, or maybe just turn Saturday into something that is more of the second string for an hour, and then the starters come on towards the end, just trying to save their legs ahead of next week. You can kind of go either way with it. Some people would be happy if We rested some of the players perhaps ahead of next weekend. But I think the strongest unit that is starting these preseason games, I think the performances have been all right.
I'm drawing the line at resting players for Aberdeen. I'm sorry, a week in advance. We
Not
are
resting
treating them
players,
with
but
no respect.
just not risking it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like
get you.
you don't want to play Hatate play 90 minutes in an injury time on Saturday when he's looking like our sharpest player. Just keep him in the pocket and unleash him against Aberdeen.
Yeah, well, the kind of other viewpoint coming in for Daniel there would like to see us treat Saturday as a proper
Yeah.
game and not change the whole team. I can see that point as well, but then again, I think that's us as supporters. We want to see the full Celtic team play the whole game in terms of, that kind of performance, because it is frustrating seeing only 45 minutes, but Ange wouldn't be doing this in these games if he didn't feel it was the best thing for the squad, giving game time to the likes of Johnston and Gucci and players like that came on. So I am not too fussed, to be honest, about what he does on Saturday. If it's the same again, that's fine. I'm just not going to be massively enjoying the second half if that's what happened. But it is all about the Aberdeen game and from then on, and I still think, despite that second half performance and the defensive lapses, which were slightly concerning, I think we saw a really, really strong first half performance. I thought against Blackburn the first half performance was great again as well, and I think going into that Aberdeen game, that's what you'll see for certainly the first half and hopefully the second half as well. And if we play at that level, I mean, some of the stuff we've played tonight, both on and off the ball, not many teams domestically certainly are going to be able to live with us.
I would certainly say so. That was certainly the case towards the end of last season with most of these players in place. And it'll be interesting to see, like you said, if Turnbull and Moy can make their way. I mean, in terms of Aaron Moy, I think he's like 3 weeks behind or something with his pre-season, so he's going to need time to get fully up to speed. I believe he's joining in on the training for the first time on Friday alongside the new German defender. So, but I think he's been training with Lorient, so I think he might get some minutes against Norwich City on Saturday. I don't know if Moy will. I think it might come too soon for him, and then you might see Moy make his debut against Aberdeen coming off the bench. That seems like the most likely timeline at the moment. But there's players to come in here and progression to make, so I'm feeling quite comfortable at this moment. I know everyone loses the head when they see Cameron Carter-Vickers make a defensive howler, but I'm not to tear my hair out unless he's doing that against Aberdeen or the rest of the Premiership teams that were playing in August.
Yeah, it was just a bit surprising. But as you say, it's all about, coming back to that Aberdeen game. One thing I did want to raise, watching a few of our games, certainly the Rapid game, the one on Saturday, especially against Blackburn and tonight as well, we do seem to be quite open some of the time, and when we're pressing the game and not allowing the opposition to get out, it looks great. But if they do manage to string a couple of passes together and kind of break the press or beat the press, we do look quite exposed. Now, I know people are immediately reading into that it's going to be like that in the Champions League, and I would certainly say that there's quite a few things that are going to change between now and the Champions League start. We're going to have Starfelt back for a start. Someone like Bernabei is going to be kind of more in tune with what that defence is doing at that stage, and we're obviously not going to have all the changes. But it is something I've noticed in pre-season that we do look far more exposed than we did at stages last season. Do you put that down just to a little bit of rustiness maybe at the start of the season, or is it something more concerning?
I don't think we look more exposed. I just think, the biggest problems for me in that game there was the moments where we gave the ball away and it left far too much space. I think perhaps you'll see that, we're just giving the ball away less. I mean, there was 2 immediate moments when James McCarthy came on where he gave the ball away twice, I think, in quick succession, and it led to 2 chances for Legia. So it's moments
even
like
in
that.
The first half, though, wasn't there? There was a few moments.
There was a few, but I mean, that was also down Bernabei's side, and he's not, has had as much time with the team. So there's issues such as that. I don't think we look more exposed at the back. I just think that we're going to leave space and open spaces for the opposition to have a go at it sometimes due to the nature, due to the way we commit players forward. I think that's just how this Ange team is going to play, and I think we're going to have to take the rough with the smooth in that. Whether you agree with that or not, I think the reality is that is what's going to happen, because I think we know that Ange isn't going to change his tactics. So I don't see much point speculating on whether he will or not.
Yeah, it's as I say, I think it's going to be something that hopefully when the likes of Bernabei have more time with his new teammates both on the pitch and in training, I think it will make a difference. It is something that I personally do think we look, a little bit more exposed at times than we did last season. But again, it doesn't matter at the moment. It's all about, that Aberdeen game. And in theory, yeah, we do have some tough games at the start of the season, but there should be an opportunity for us to pick up a bit of momentum, from the start of the season. Some tricky fixtures, but we've certainly had, tougher starts to the season. So I'm quite relaxed as well, to be honest. I know there is a fair amount of negativity at the moment, surrounding transfers, surrounding how the team is actually playing in these matches. I feel quite comfortable that Celtic are going to hit the ground running. Not this weekend, but the following weekend against Aberdeen. I've not really seen anything for me to suggest that the team isn't going to hit the ground running. I just think the way we've started these games has been excellent, especially the last couple, and it's just been all these subs that are made, and let's face it, probably bringing on inferior players a lot of the time. I mean, you start today in that midfield with Hatate, McGregor, and O'Reilly, and you finish it with Turnbull, McCarthy, and who's the other one? Gucci. So it's there's a bit of a kind of disparity there, but I think in general, when we get that best team on the park and go into these games, we're going to hit the ground running.
And that's what Andrew's saying, though. I mean, that's why he signed Moy, because he's going to come in and hopefully, improve those backup options immediately. Then it's, it would turn into a Turnbull, Moy, Gucci situation, and as backup, that doesn't seem terrible to me. I mean, the last Celtic match that mattered was at Tannadice when we won the league. The next Celtic match that matters is Aberdeen, the opening game. And whatever happens in between is of no consequence, to be perfectly honest with you. So I just don't get stressed about it. And like you take positives from individual performances. You look who's looking sharp, but I think as a team, I don't think you can put too much judgment into things. I think the only player I thought today that looked like a standout was Hatate, and I'm just happy that he looks like he's going to hit the ground running. Fingers crossed that he can kind of start making those impacts in the final third that we brought him into the club to do, and that he initially did and then dropped off a little bit from. But I just think if we can keep Hatate in top form in this early part of the season, remember we don't play any European games until September. It's you alluded to it there, but it's actually the easiest August we've had for years and years and years. Like, not in terms of what the Premiership schedule actually is, just with the slate of matches. We don't have midweek games, and we're not doubling up on these matches, and we've got time to get players fully up to speed and fully firing. And I don't see any major concerns, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, our next midweek match is, I think, the final day of August in the League Cup. The following week, midweek after that, is the first match day of the Champions League. So we've got 6 weeks in a row now without midweek football, which I think is pretty interesting, but also should have its benefits for us. It's nothing really new to us, because at the end of last season we didn't really have any midweek games, for the last couple of months of the season after we went out of Europe. So hopefully a good start to the season, and we'll just kind of move on from tonight. Positives tonight, things that can be worked on, but the bottom line is that it doesn't really matter, because it's all about the Aberdeen game. Having said that, we will be here after the game on Saturday against Norwich, making some bold claims about what we've watched. Be interesting to see what we see then. Anything else you want to say, John, before we call time?
No, not really. I mean, I'm looking forward again to the game on Saturday. If I had to pick either way, I would suggest that he might field a less strong 11 from the start. Just my gut feeling. I don't know what the manager maybe feels like he needs to get more minutes into some of these players' leg. But I maybe wouldn't start Hatate on Saturday and just keep him in the pocket and bring him on off the bench if he needs minutes. I'd like to see Moritz Jens get a debut of some sort on Saturday. As I say, joined training later in the week, and he seemed to suggest that he was ready to go. Sounded like he wanted to play tonight, but just couldn't make the trip for whatever reason. So, nothing major to add right now. We'll see what happens on the transfer front. See if we can add 1 or 2 more players after what we've done this week, and then we'll see what kind of shape we're in ahead of Aberdeen. And
you've been plunged into darkness, John. So
I know. I don't know. It was honestly fine when I set this up, but hopefully I'm talking enough sense to get around that.
Not sure about that, but let's go anyway. Thanks very much, John. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We are back tomorrow. Speak to you then.